My name is Christy Belcourt, also in Anishinaabe. It's Pindakanaan Kwe Minwa Pitwayanukatak, Mayangan Dodam, Mantuzagigan Donjba, Nimkiajabikongandaya. I think doing the mural centered around bringing our children home is incredibly important. Not the mural so much as the community coming together to participate in the mural and having an opportunity to express their personal stories and their personal experiences with the child welfare system.
I grew up in the child welfare system. When I was growing up here, I was placed in non-Indigenous homes. And when I went to church, the pastors would talk about POWs and talk about Native culture and how it was bad and how they are worshiping the devil. And it made me believe it because I wanted to be accepted by my family members.
My friends and family, we joke about it, that I'm more of the white Native because I don't really know a lot about my culture because I didn't get that.
I feel like that's an important key, especially as an Anishinaabe child, because I feel like that's probably where a whole lot of youth struggle because they are taken from their culture and their teachings and they have no self-identity of who they really are.
The biggest loss I felt when I was taken from my mom was being ripped away from my parents and my family, not just being alone. That was the biggest thing, was just having nobody and not knowing what to do with that. The only good thing that has come out of it was I show a lot of that love to my children that I have now.
At the age of 5, I was apprehended by Indian agents. Back then, they didn't have CAS and stuff. It was Indian agents would come to your home and take you away. And of course, me and my brothers were taken away. And I had one little brother that was hiding, and they ran him over by mistake. They didn't know that he was there. He survived, but he became disabled. My mother, of course, she didn't survive. She was in the Kenora Residential School. They shipped her all the way from Serpent River First Nation to Kenora. And she ended up committing suicide just shortly after her kids were taken away. And so when I came back to the reserve when I was 10 years old, my mother was gone. There was a huge deficit left in my heart. Where's my mom? Where's my brothers? How come everything's wrong?
They took our land, but not traditions and culture. Why us? There is a struggle, but it's making us stronger. Why us? Do you see who we are? That spirit in our hearts. The future seems so far, but our time is now. We sing why us? The pain is real, I won't lie. It's hard to see through the fear. It's in my grandparents' eyes. They knew we would be here. I hope that we'll overcome. Let's all go back to the lands. There's so much more to be done. We can carry our clan.
Street medicine, overdosing from the unknown, sunny side streets. This is where I'm from, yo, contemplated death. And I could say I've come close. We need to listen to the teachings that the elders once told.
I thought I'd never break, but I'm sweeping up the pieces. I wanna make my dad proud, and that keeps me dreaming. I'm scared of tomorrow, but every day's a baby step, smudge for the bright future that we pray to get. They took our land, but not traditions and culture. Why us? There is a struggle, but it's making us stronger.
Hello everyone, and happy National Indigenous Peoples Day. The First Nations Family Advocate Office estimates Child and Family Services seizes 1 newborn a day.
Indigenous children are vastly, disproportionately overrepresented in the child welfare system.
It's my firm belief that the foster care system is working the way it's designed, as a machine to destroy indigeneity.
The overrepresentation of First Nation, Inuit, and Métis children in the Child and Family Services system has been described as a humanitarian crisis. It is a crisis.
This is very much reminiscent of residential school systems where children are being scooped up from their homes, taken away from their families, and we will pay the price for this for generations to come.
I could just so go into a rant. How often I look at a news program and all I want to scream is, get your hands off our kids, right? Enough now. That you've been taking them for how many generations, and it has to stop now.
So let's go back a little bit. Let's go back even 100 years ago. 100 years ago, our people were fishermen, they were hunters, they were gatherers. We were scattered across the land, and we were a free people that had our own government, we had our own laws, we had our own way of life, our language, our way of travel, we had our own history, and that was systematically erased. Everybody was forced onto the reservation or in town where they could be forced into systems where they could be colonized so that they'd never go back to the land again.
Europe was a very violent continent. They had a lot of violence towards each other, towards children, toward the class system that they had. We didn't have that here. And so that had to all be brought in and introduced. And as they broke down those layers of men and women and grandparents and elders, then finally they realized that that connection between the elders and the children was creating the continuation of the culture and the languages and the belief systems and values. And so what they did was they then went directly after the children. And that was the last straw, and that of course collapsed a lot of our communities.
Colonization it outlawed us from being ourselves as an Anishinaabe, as a human being. Our way of living has been altered, because when we call the natural laws of this world, we're not part of that anymore. We're not out in the natural elements of this world that we grew into.
There's so many Native people out there that say, you know what, I want to raise my kid in Anishinaabezo, I want to raise my kid, you know, in the knowledge of our people. But you can't do that. They have to go to school. They have to go to town. As soon as you take your child to the forest, they're going to get apprehended. And so CAS is still used as a tool to wipe out Indigenous knowledge.
These objectives were based on the assumption that Aboriginal cultures and spiritual beliefs were inferior and unequal. Indeed, some sought, as was infamously said, to kill the Indian in the child.
Before it was used to take the Indian out of the child. That was in my age. Now, they're taking the Indian out of the baby. And they're taking these babies right at childbirth. And this is happening at astronomical rates right across the country.
I'm sorry, baby.
But Child and Family Services has the power here to apprehend the baby. Okay, we're gonna act. We're gonna actually physically remove the baby.
I'm gonna pray for you.
I don't want to do that.
As we know in this country, just in Manitoba alone, there is 1 newborn a day which is apprehended from Winnipeg hospitals. So Indigenous children, Indigenous families directly being impacted by this new scoop of children.
What do you think would happen if I went to Atikokan and me and some of my Indian bros came into town and said, you know what, we're going to take these 5-year-olds, these 5-year-old white kids, and we're going to start raising them to be Anishinaabe so that they can be better and so that they're not so earth destroyers and they're not so bad. You know, we would be arrested, charged, thrown in jail, Amber Alert, and rightfully so, because you don't steal kids. You know, that's a bad thing. But when we were taken, there was no Amber Alert. Right now, children are being taken right across the country. There is no Amber Alert.
We have a right to raise our children. It is genocide to take another people's children and raise them in another culture, another language, another form. And so we have a right as human beings to raise our own children.
It's no secret that Canada's child welfare system is in a state of crisis, or that it's Indigenous children who are paying the highest price. To this day, no one knows the total number of Indigenous kids in care, or how many have died there.
10% of all Indigenous people in Canada are in care. That's staggering.
Can you imagine a child taken into care by the state, by the government, for their own protection, and say, well, the best we can do is move you into a home, can't speak your language, knows nothing about your culture, is thousands of kilometers away from your home, and we know you've moved from 9 times already, but this is the best we can do, and it's your last resort. Make it work, or that's it. It's the end.
You don't get along with the kids, so you get put in another one, or you're too bad for this one, and so you go to this one, and then you go back to this one, and then you go to that one. So you just get thrown around, and you never really get a sense of what a real home is.
I have a hard time trusting people. I don't like being touched by anybody. I don't like being hugged. It has affected me in a lot of ways.
That's why I hate the system, because they're the reasons why all my friends and my aunties and uncles are broken.
The state is responsible for the children's well-being, and yet they are creating broken human beings. And why is it that there's no oversight allowed of the system itself to protect children from the very system that is breaking them?
I just know that workers aren't seeing the kids in care, and then stuff is happening behind closed doors, and that child has no one safe to go to, when we should be 100% for the child, because we are supposed to be protecting them, and we're supposed to, as a parent, you're supposed to help your child so they can grow into their own adult, and these kids do not have it.
From the minute I got here, it was nothing like it was supposed to be. They had promised me that I would be placed with a loving family and that I would get help and they would be there. And that's not what happened. When my first foster home didn't work out, the system had tossed me into a treatment program for high-risk kids. And I was told after I completed that program, I would be given a home. But until I completed the program, that nobody wanted me. I remember I would call and I would be there on the phone and I would cry. I would cry to my worker and I would ask her, when do I get to come home?
The burning of the sacred plants. They call it praying with smoke. More commonly, we call it smudging. As the smoke rises, so do the prayers. To Mother Earth, Father Sky, to the sun and the moon, to the plants, animals, and the water. I cleanse my eyes so they will see the truth. I cleanse my mouth. In my speaking words may elevate my community. I cleanse my ears so that I may listen fully to the wisdom passed down from my ancestors. I cleanse my feet so they will guide us on this life's journey as a light and a truth seeker. May I walk in beauty.
To bring our children home is to bring back that land-based learning of how they used to live and that traditional ecological knowledge. When we need to pass on that way of thinking, not just to our kids, not just to our own people, but to everyone. You think about it now, growing up as a kid, that's all I wanted to do was just live off the land. Not just live off the land, but learn about the land and how we truly lived back in the day. And it just made me think about, like, maybe that's why all our problems are so many problems and so big problems, because we lost our way of life.
It's been highlighted for them since the day they were taken that they don't fit in. To be in an environment that's driven by them, what their interests are, what their needs are, what they would like to learn. Can you imagine the students that want to learn how to cook, who want to learn about traditional medicines, just out of pure interest? They've never known that kind of self-determination, and that's what they need.
We're starting something completely different. We're starting from the ground up, like a tree. And we have a good group of people who 100% support the youth, who I trust, not just who I trust, but who other youth trust. I was living away from Atikokan at the time, and when I came back one summer, that's when I met Sarah. And Sarah and I connected right away, actually, and it felt like we knew each other a really long time. She was the first adult to actually listen to what we had to say, and I felt safe with her, and I could trust her. And she showed me what she drafted up for Bimidaswin Lodge. And I was like, oh my God, we need this now.
When we talk to the youth in care about this vision, the most heartbreaking response we receive is the youth stating that they don't care about us enough to actually invest in something like this for us. And they don't see a society that would actually do anything, never mind anything sacrificially, to actually be able to give them a bright future and a hope for their future.
When she explained what she wanted that place to be, almost like a safe haven for youth. Because I wouldn't say it's isolated, but you know, when you go there, you feel like you are, like you forget your problems, you look at the lake, you go to the beach, you walk around those trails. It's a nice place, and it's almost like, in a sense, of going back to the land, but the necessities of emergencies, hospitalities, they're all there. Like, it's all sitting there. It's almost just like a golden ticket right there.
We've heard from a lot of our youth the need to have a safe space, an environment that feels like a safe space and feels like home. So things like the youth are able to learn about their culture, receive teachings that they would have historically within the family unit. They're able to have safe relationships with elders, adults, leaders within their community. They're also able to learn how to play the guitar, be able to express themselves artistically, learning about the medicines, some of the teachings, especially for Indigenous youth, that they would have received historically as they were growing up.
And we're taking different perspectives from different youth who've experienced it and workers and people who I've seen from the outside and caregivers. So it's a good group of well-rounded people who know where the gaps are, and we're going to fill in those gaps and create something new.
It's not new in a sense of the youth, but knowing what they need. I think it's new in the rest of the world, understanding what they want to do. They have a plan, they have good ideas, they have a path. We just got to help them pick up the pieces to move along that path, yeah.
We need a cultural transition for them to be able to move out of survival mode and to have time for healing, where that is their purpose while they're in that home.
The lodge is very important for me because of what I have been through, that youth need a place to go. They need to be surrounded by other people that have gone through what they are going through, and to feel safe and to feel loved and to get the help that they need to make it through this, because it is difficult.
I haven't told a lot of people what has happened to me as a child or what I've gone through, simply because I felt that nobody was interested. Nobody cared. You know, it's just another life story, and here I feel really listened to. While I didn't get to love or nurture like little me, I'm doing it now.
We could work towards making a better, like the next generation, so that it is a lot, well, not pain-free, but this pain, the pain that I've felt, like the loneliness, everything like that, that it's more free of that, because it'll be educating the youth. It'll be showing them the bad. It'll be showing them the good. So I believe that this lodge is really the future of moving forward for the Indigenous people.
There's no guarantee of what the outcome will be for our youth after we get this going. But I can guarantee that it's going to be a hell of a lot better. It's going to be a process. It's going to be at least like the first step that we know we need to take.
I'm sorry that we didn't get it together faster, but we're coming. Hang in there, because we're coming to get you.
But no, these moments are special because they're like once in a lifetime. Like, you're not gonna have these moments again.
I was in the middle.
No.
Hey, look, watch
like,
cousin.
you won't remember them. But I'll remember
cousin,
them.
Lily.
And that's why they're special.
Watch cousin.
Just like every time that she does something for the first time, it's special.
Feeling free. Remember me. Down the road, hand in hand, you and me. Hey-oh, hey-oh, hey-oh.
We need to bring our children home because the system is failing our kids. And there isn't really a way yet that we actually are helping the kids. And we need to create something that is going to bring our children home.
We have to protect our lands, our waters, and our children and our families. And that's what it comes down to.
I actually do feel like there's hope. Like I have been to a lot of youth gatherings and like youth assemblies and things. And I feel like, I don't feel like it's going to happen like with our generation, but I feel like with maybe our kids' generation, because a lot of us are more open-minded. So I feel like Layla is 6. A lot of people always point out to me that like, wow, Autumn, like you really overcome a lot. They're like, just imagine what your girls are going to do, because like they have you as a mom, but they won't have the trauma that you went through. And I'm like, exactly. I was like, I'm breaking the cycle for my kids.
soaring with the eagle so high, feeling free. Remember me, down the road, hand in hand, you and me. Hey-oh, hey-oh, hey-oh. Hey-oh, hey-oh. Hey-oh, hey-oh. Hey-oh, hey. Hey-oh, hey-oh. Hey-oh, hey. Hey-oh, hey. Hey-oh, 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 hey-oh. Remember me, when the sun comes up in the morning sky, there I will be, soaring with the eagle so high, feeling free. Remember me, down the road.